For this 25-minute flow that stretches the full body, you'll need a pair of blocks. Start at the front of your space in Tadasana mountain pose with the palms joined in Anjali Mudra at heart center. Inhale, circle sweep the arms, and exhale, swan dive out over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift, sliding the hands to the shins. Exhale, bow, stepping the right leg back, placing the knee down on the mat, sweeping the arms up to the sky in kneeling crescent lunge. Bringing the hands down to the mat, slide back into downward facing dog, an inverted V. Inhaling forward, exhale, lowering down to the mat. Inhale to a slight cobra, and then exhale back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up to the sky. Exhale it through between the hands, dropping the back knee and sweeping the arms up, kneeling crescent lunge on the second side. Opening up the hip flexor, relaxing the shoulders. Bringing the hands down around the front foot, we'll step forward, inhaling halfway lift. Exhale, bowing out over the legs. Reverse swan dive, arms out, around and up. Exhale, closing Tadasana mountain pose. Inhale, circle sweep the arms. Exhale, swan diving out over the legs. Inhaling, halfway up, hands to shins, high pointy tail. This time step the left leg way back first into a lunge, back knee down, arms up to the sky. Softly gazing down, forward or up, whatever feels good on the neck. And then bringing the hands down around the front foot, sliding back into downward facing dog. Inhaling forward, high or kneeling plank. Exhale, softly lowering into the mat. Inhale, lifting the heart for cobra. Exhale, lowering, sliding back into downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg to the sky. Exhale, bringing it through between the hands, back knee down on the mat. Lifting the arms, rolling the pinky fingers in towards each other as the shoulders melt down away from the ears. Hands framing the front foot as we step forward, and then inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, reverse swan dive, arms out, around and up, closing at Tadasana mountain pose. Inhale, circle sweep, lifting the heart. Exhale, bowing out over the legs. Halfway lift, reaching the tail and the crown in opposite directions. Exhale, stepping the right leg back into a lunge, this time maybe keeping the knee lifted as we sweep the arms up to the sky for high crescent lunge. Floating the hands down around the front foot, shifting back into downward facing dog. Inhaling forward. Exhale, maybe halfway down. Inhaling, cobra or up dog, shoulders melting, elbows soft. Sliding back into downward facing dog. Inhaling as the right leg sweeps up to the sky, opening up the hips. Exhale it between the hands, maybe keeping the back knee lifted as we raise the arms up to the sky, leveling the pelvis, knitting the ribs down and in. Exhaling, hands down, floating forward. Breathing into halfway lift. Exhale, bowing deeply. Inhale, reverse swan dive, arms out, around and up, closing at Tadasana mountain pose. Second side, reconnecting with the breath. Inhale, circle sweep, lifting the heart. Exhale, bowing out over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift, drawing the chin into the throat. Exhale, bow, left leg steps back, perhaps keeping that knee lifted as we raise the arms up to the sky. Level and square the pelvis. Breath flowing. Exhaling back, downward facing dog. Inhaling forward, exhale, lower halfway or all the way, cobra or up dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Slowly lifting the left leg to the sky, opening up the hips, Bringing that foot all the way up between the hands, perhaps keeping that back knee lifted as we sweep the arms up. Level and square the pelvis, reach the thumbs back. Let's sweep the hands down as we step forward. Breathing in, we'll lift up halfway. Breathing out, we'll bow deeper into the legs. Reverse swan dive, arms out, around, and up. Closing at Tadasana, mountain pose. Reconnecting with our breath. Reconnecting with our intention for our practice. Let's circle sweep the arms. And then exhale the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, opening up the chest. Perhaps we bend the knees to bow deeply out over the legs, reaching the knuckles up to the sky or maybe toward the ground overhead. Keeping that tight seal, palm to palm, soft knees, drawing the kneecaps up and the belly button in. We'll bring our hands to our low backs. We can release our bind, planting the hands. We'll step back into downward facing dog, inverted V, feeling those upper arms wrap in toward the face. Kneecaps reaching to the wall behind us. Let's sweep our right leg up to the sky, and this time we'll bend the knee and make 3 big hip circles in one direction, and then 3 big hip circles in the opposite direction, and then letting that foot fall over to the opposite side. Generous stretch to those hips, bringing the right foot all the way up between the hands, dropping the back knee. Let's lift the right arm up to the sky, revolved kneeling lunge. Just finding that soft gaze, either down, forward, or up. Squeezing the inner thigh into the chest. Bringing the hands down, we'll straighten the front leg, toes pointed up toward the sky for half split. Letting the torso melt down the right leg. And as we shift forward into a lunge, we'll plant our hands, tuck under the back toe, finding our way back into downward facing dog, where we'll flow through a vinyasa, chaturanga, cobra, or up dog, rolling over the toes, downward facing dog. Let's drop one elbow and then the next, finding dolphin, stretching the shoulders, opening up the thoracic spine, improving our posture. The knees can be as soft as we need. Just keep pressing the chest back to the thighs and the thighs to the wall behind us. Lifting back up onto our hands, we'll sweep the left leg up to the sky, bending the knee, making 3 big hip circles in one direction, loosening up that hip, 3 big circles in the opposite direction, stirring that thigh bone in the hip socket, and then letting that foot fall over to the opposite side as we open more deeply into this stretch. Let's bring that left foot between the hands, back knee down, left arm up to the sky for revolved kneeling lunge. Stretching long from the tailbone through the crown of the head, squeezing the inner thigh and the chest. As the hands float down to frame the front foot, we'll rock back into half split, straightening the front leg, toes looking up to the ceiling, torso melting down that left leg. Shifting forward into lunge, planting the hands, stepping back into downward facing dog. Again, an option to enjoy a vinyasa, flowing with the breath, making our way back into downward facing dog. From here, we'll walk our feet as wide as our mat. Bring the hands about halfway back. Feel the heels pressing into the ground, high pointy tail as we come into this wide leg, short length, downward facing dog. Head floating between the biceps. Let's keep walking our hands back as we sit down into a squat, malasana, garland pose. We can rest our Forearms on our thighs, or bring the triceps inside of the knees, prayer hands at heart center. Really lengthening the back, keeping that neutral spine rather than rounding, opening up the hips. As we plant our hands, lifting our hips, we'll come into a forward fold, perhaps clasping the big toes with the first two fingers, thumbs capping the toenails. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, bowing deeply into the legs, engaging our pull muscles, our biceps, our back, as we move the shoulders away from the ears, merging the torso more and more into the curves of the legs, all the while lifting the kneecaps, hollowing the belly, and breathing deep. Releasing our bind, we'll walk forward into a high plank. Again, option 2, Vinyasa. Exhale, Chaturanga, Dandasana. Inhale, Cobra or Up Dog. Exhale back, Downward Facing Dog. Let's inhale our right heel to the sky, and then bringing that foot all the way up between the hands, step the back foot a quarter of the way in as we lift into Warrior One. Back toes angled out 45 degrees. We'll tuck our left arm to the center of our back. Our right arm sweeps down and up into cow face arms, just letting those hands come as close together as they want to come. If we can bind the hands, we'll hold on there. Stretching deeply through the left side of the body, the shoulder, the armpit, the obliques, all the way down through the hip flexor. Back leg straight and strong, front knee floating over the ankle. Let's unravel our cow face arms, bringing hands to hips as we step the back foot halfway in. All of the toes pointed straight ahead, hinging halfway. We can bring hands to thighs or folding deeper, hands to shin, blocks, or mat in pyramid. Feeling both feet equally pressing into the ground through the big toe ball mound, the pinky ball mound, and the heel. Letting that imaginary tractor beam pull us forward, feeling that weight shift toward the front of the mat. Releasing through our hamstrings. Let's bring our left hand to a block, our right arm up to the sky, revolved pyramid. Continue to level the hips toward the ground as the heart, the chest, the shoulders open up to the side wall. Expanding those arms out to a T as we gaze down, forward, or up, whatever feels good on the neck. Bringing our hands down to the mat, we'll step both feet back into downward facing dog. Those vinyasas are always optional, flowing through kneeling or high plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, Cobra or Up Dog, back to downward facing dog. For the second side, we'll lift our left heel to the sky, not quite as high. And then sweeping that foot all the way up between the hands, stepping the back foot a quarter of the way in as the arms reach up to the sky. We'll give ourselves a pat on the back with our right arm this time. Left hand can help the elbow along, or it can sweep to the low back. Just letting the hands come as close together as they'd like, or finding that bind for cow face arms in our Warrior One. Big stretch through that whole right side of the body. The shoulder, the armpit, maybe feeling the obliques, the hip flexor. As we lengthen through that back leg, bending the front knee. Let's release our bind, bringing hands to hips, stepping the back foot halfway in, two straight legs, all the toes pointed straight ahead. We'll hinge halfway, hands to thigh, or continue to fold down deeper, hands to shins, hands to the blocks, or hands down to the mat, as we fold in pyramid, releasing the head as the shoulders continue to move away from the ears. Letting that weight shift forward toward the front of our mat, all while keeping the back heel solid on the ground. And let's find a block under our right hand as we reach our left arm up to the sky, revolving this pyramid. Hips are square to the ground as the chest revolves open toward the side wall, lengthening the spine down the center line of our mat, stretching from tail through the crown of the head, broad across the collarbones as well as the upper back. As we bring our hands down to the mat, we'll step both feet back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Option 2, flow through a vinyasa, moving with our breath, opening the heart, stretching the spine, making our way back into downward facing dog, where we'll rest our knees and forehead on the mat, surrendering into child's pose. Breathing deeply into the back body, feeling the back puffing up to the ceiling with each inhalation. Exhale, melting deeper into the mat on every exhalation. Let's find our way into all fours as our left arm threads the needle, resting the cheek on the mat. Right arm can stretch forward toward the front of our space. Just folding the chest into the bicep, stretching across the upper back. As we bring our right hand under our shoulder and press ourselves up, let's let the right arm thread the needle this time. Cheek rests on the mat, left hand can stretch forward, breathing into the back of the shoulder, the upper back, as we relax into this shoulder stretch. Bring that left hand back in so we can press ourselves up into all fours. And from here, let's have a seat facing the long edge of our mat. Left leg out long, right leg tucks in like butterfly. We could bring a block on the inside of our straight leg, resting our left forearm as we reach the right arm up to the sky. Or we can place the left forearm on the ground, laterally flexing over toward our straight leg for revolved head to knee pose. If we're catching that foot with our left hand, it's pinky finger on top. We can look down, forward, or up, whatever feels good on the neck today on this stretch. Inhale, lifting up tall. We'll bring our left leg out in front in Sukhasana easy pose, or we'll cross that leg on top into fire log, stacking ankle over knee, knee over ankle so we can flex the feet, slightly hinging forward to increase that stretch through the hip. Just making sure we're not feeling any pain in the knee. If we are, we'll just place that leg back down on the ground out in front in Sukhasana easy pose. Feeling that length in the spine from the tail through the crown of the head. Relaxing the shoulders. Breathing deeply into those muscles we feel stretching. Let's lift up and switch to the second side. Left leg tucks in like butterfly, right leg out long. Block on the inside of our straight legs. We can rest our right forearm, lifting the left up to the sky. Or we can move that block out of the way, resting the forearm on the ground inside of the leg. If we're clasping that foot, it's pinky finger on top. Side bending down that straight leg as we look down, forward, or up, enjoying that stretch to the left side of the body, especially through the obliques and the QL in the low back. Just finding a softness to our breath and ease to the stretch. We'll let an inhalation sweep us up as we bring the right leg to the ground out in front in Sukhasana easy pose, or crossing that leg on top into fire log, lining up the shins, bringing the legs in close together so we can flex the feet. As we place the hands on the ground, we can hinge forward to create a little deeper stretch. Feeling that tailbone and crown of the head lengthening in opposite directions as the shoulders melt down away from the ears. Breathing into the hips, letting the breath coax the body into a deeper and deeper stretch. And as we lift up, let's take both legs out just as wide as they want to go today. And perhaps resting our hands on a block as we fold forward wherever the body wants to go with a neutral back. So if the spine is rounding, we will instead stay up tall. Just opening our hips in this seated straddle split. And as we walk our hands back, we'll use our hands to help bring our legs in toward each other. And we're going to make our blocks into like a capital letter T. One block under our spine, the other block under our head. Letting our upper back rest on one block, our head rest on the other block. Coming into a supported fish, Matsyasana. And whatever's comfortable on the legs, we could bring the legs into butterfly as the arms rest down by the sides, palms face up. So with the soles of the feet touching, the knees splay apart. We can breathe deeply into the belly, feeling the rise and fall of the abdomen. If we'd like to stretch a little deeper through the shoulder, we'll bring those arms into goalpost. And maybe a little deeper, reaching those arms back overhead. Just feeling the hips and the shoulders melting deeper and deeper into the stretch with every breath. Surrendering into the ground beneath us. And let's start to bring those arms back out of that deep stretch. Let our hands help our knees up toward each other. And then safely rolling off of our blocks onto one side. And let's push that bottom block out of the way. And if we'd like, we can keep our head on a low block, like a pillow, as we make our way into Shavasana, final relaxation. Arms by the sides with palms face up. Legs out long on the mat, toes falling effortlessly out to the sides. We'll close our eyes as we let the breath become soft, shallow, and quiet. As we begin to bring ourselves back, let's wiggle the fingers and the toes. Reach the arms back overhead, circling wrists and ankles as we deepen the breath and take a full body stretch. We'll bend our knees to roll onto the right side, head resting on the right arm like a pillow, left hand on the ground in front of the chest. Let's press ourselves up to a comfortable seat, crossing the legs out in front, joining the palms in Anjali Mudra at the heart center. Bow your head, look inside of yourself. Take a moment to thank yourself for this practice today, and I thank you. Namaste.